Hi, and welcome to another episode of Real Estate with Howard Drukarsh. For those that don't know me, I'm one of the co-founders, along with Arthur Bartram and Ron Petticord, of the largest independent brokerage in Canada with over 5,000 agents. In my career, I've also been on the board of directors of the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board for 2 terms. I've sat on the board of directors of the Real Estate Council of Ontario, which is RECO, which is the guardian of the registrants in the province. And I also sit on the board of the company that I co-founded. This isn't the typical real estate podcast. We'll be interviewing real estate agents. We'll be interviewing people who are in the new development or pre-construction field, brokers, marketing people in the field, media people, and even people we just find interesting and will also be our guests. And the whole focus of our program is about success. Real estate is not an easy business, and those people that have figured out how to be successful are remarkable people. Everybody in that we interview has had to overcome roadblocks, setbacks, rejection, all kinds of challenges, where they just might have decided to quit, but they haven't. Their trajectory has never been straight up, but they keep going. They have intention. And I find, and I think our viewers will find, these are fascinating people. My own situation in real estate was I was a real estate agent for 20 years. And then when we started the company, as we grew, I was the manager of our offices as we opened different branch offices. Then at one point in time, I was also president and broker of record for a few years. And in that role, whether it was managing or president, one of the most important things is the interviewing and hiring of people. And I always found that fascinating. And over the time that I was active with Right at Home Realty, I hired over 1,000 people. So my instinct was really developed. With new people, I always had a good feeling for those that I thought would do well. And for people who were transferring from another brand that might have been around a lot longer than us, it was great that they felt we were better than where they were and wanted to join this company. So that's my own background. If you're interested in learning more, you can go to the intro podcast, which is an audio about my own background in the business. Now to our guest today, Rav Toor. I have a special place in my heart for Rav Toor. When we started this business, we had no brand, we had no agents, and Rav had a TV show called In Tune with Real Estate, and I think he had a second one as well. And he was kind enough to invite my partner Arthur and I onto his program, where we began to get noticed and helped us get more brand going. Rav was a terrific host, and I'm going to compliment him because I've learned a lot about how to host from him. In fact, I don't know if you remember this, Rav, but there was one episode where he couldn't make it, or he might have been on vacation, and he asked me to host. And I think that put the bug in my ear about how much fun it is on that side. So without further ado, I want to introduce everyone to my good friend, Rav Toor. Rav, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, my friends. Great to be here with you. It's interesting. You've been on the show, I don't know, countless times over the 15, 16 years. And this is the first time I'm being interviewed by you. So it's thank you for having me.
Well, it's fun. The shows you did are still on YouTube. I mean, we can find some of them. If people look up Rav Toor, they look up Howard Drukarsh, In Tune with Real Estate, they can still see how young we were.
I still didn't have the hair that you have.
Well, yeah, but you were still younger then. So one of the things I can't remember, and this will be interesting, how did we meet? What was kind of like, do you remember how we first met?
I don't. Maybe it was somebody on my team. Was it like a Lindy or a Dale or a Mary Jo, or and they were sourcing out guests, and maybe because you started your brokerage in what year?
2004.
2004, and I started the show in 2005, and so
maybe
they caught on to those beautiful purple signs of yours and the new concept of being able to work right at home. And so maybe it was that. Maybe it was somebody on my team that brought you in. And then from there, we just hit it off.
Oh, God. It was great. I mean, we hit it off. I never went on to the show feeling any kind of, someone's trying to, throw me a curveball. You were great as a host. And I've learned that from you, quite honestly. I want my guests to be comfortable. So you've been a good mentor, and it's fun for me to be on this side of the mic while you're at home and enjoying the Zoom.
Well, like I said, you're a natural at it. So.
Well, I appreciate it. Let me ask this question too, because not only for me, which is in my intro, but people have had a lot of interesting influences as they mature and as they grow up. What was your family background?
My parents are from India, from North India. My mom came here by herself and was a nurse. And my dad, somebody knew her on my dad's side, and there was an arranged marriage.
Really?
So my dad came in, Kingston, Ontario, little old Kingston, Ontario, where I'm born and raised.
Uh-huh.
But my parents, which is wasn't common in the 70s with the East Indian family, they actually parted ways when I was 5-6 years old. So here's me, maybe 5-6 years old, my sister 2 years younger, and my mom who worked nights as a nurse. And so, we had to figure it out. I love my dad immensely, but he wasn't in the picture full time, if you will. So that's kind of, my background. Then I got into, I got bored very easy. I was asked to leave 3 or 4 high schools just because I wasn't interested. And then they threw me into something called co-op at the age of 16. And that happened to be the largest real estate brokerage in that small city of about 60,000 people. And the rest is history. That's where I got my first taste of real estate, job shadowing agents. And me and my mom bought our first investment property and so on and so forth. Here I am, 49 years old. So what's that, 33 years later?
The other thing I remember, your career has been more than just real estate, right? You've had a fascinating journey. So the parts that I know about were you ministered.
Yep.
You were an ACTRA performer, maybe even SAG, I'm not sure. But how did you get into those two areas? What motivated you?
So then I met an incredible woman named Sinead from Belfast, Ireland, who moved to Kingston at 12 years old, 13 years old. So we started dating. I was 15, she was 14, and she was heavily into drama. And so just to hang out with her more, I took drama. And there was a guy named Tom Cavanaugh. So Tom Cavanaugh has done tons of work, but people would probably know him from Flash. He plays Dr. Wells on Flash. Mm-hmm. And he went to Queens. He was good friends with my drama teacher. And we became friends. And I just thought somebody picks you off the street to, put you in a movie or a TV show. I didn't know that you get an agent and you audition. And so, 17, 18, 19 years old, my first audition was for Street Legal. I remember very clearly.
Sure.
I've done 30 speaking roles in film and TV and worked with people like Daniel Craig and Mark Wahlberg and Alyssa Milano and just a couple of lines here and there. I've had a few guest starring roles on episodic work. So, I've been doing that and I still do. I have an audition in a couple of days, but, I live in the promised land of Brampton right now. And so it's good that I audition via Zoom. But when you have to go downtown Toronto to audition and callbacks, and it was too much of a drive. So I don't do as much of it. Plus I'm busy with the TV show. We're in my 17th year, I think, of doing a show. My show is called Everyday Investor with Rav Toor. So that's all that. In my early 20s, Howard, here I am I could be on set and make $2,000-$3,000 a day when I was, filming, and have lots of friends around me and pretty people. And I was really, really empty. Christianity was incredibly hypocritical in my eyes. And so I searched different faiths and tried to do it on my own and just felt like there was something bigger out there that, if there is a God and I'm not happy, something's wrong. And it's probably not with God, it's with me. So that started my journey and different faiths. And when I studied the walk of someone called Jesus, I fell in love with the humility and selflessness. And I said, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to help people know God's love. And that's how I kind of became a minister. And I've been in and out, paid ministry, not paid ministry, So I've been fortunate enough to do my 3 loves. Make money in the real estate world, get in front of the camera, whether it's hosting or acting, and be able to share God's love with people. A few of us families started a little something in Brampton called Simple Church. You can go to the website there, simplechurch.ca. So yeah, that's what I've been doing for almost, like I say, I'm 49 years old, 50 in May.
Well, that's what I mean, when I met you and found these things out, I thought it was fascinating. Most people don't have that diverse interests and have succeeded in all of them. So, I have a question here about the importance of hard work, persistence, and luck. Hard work, persistence, and luck. How would you rate those in your, let's say your real estate career?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Howard, you know this, and this is why I love you so much. I just think everything, and there could be some guy in his basement, working on some coding for a business and gets lucky, and they do. We know that, especially in the tech days, the technology era. You could be successful just hiding out, but generally speaking, life is all about relationships, and that's why me and you get along. We can not talk for months and pick it up like we just talked an hour ago. So I just think everything's about relationships, and that's why I feel like spirituality is important, because you take from something bigger than yourself, you take from something bigger, and then you give it as much as you can. I remember in my teen years, I was probably in some drunken stupor, and I landed on some old woman's porch, and I'll never forget. She said a little something to me. She said, because I just love talking to people, and she said, love was not put in your heart to stay, for love is not love until you give it away. And I'll never forget that, right? And I just think whatever you're doing, if you just give, like, we have nothing to gain here. There's no monetary gain for you having me on, and there's no monetary gain for me being on. I just love to talk to you, and so if we want to do it, and there's a bunch of people watching, why not? So you have to really, want to give to people. You have to be selfless. You have to, give value. And then, of course, once that happens, there's nothing wrong with feeding your family at the same time. And so that's how I've always, I would never be, and no offense to anybody who does it, but I would never be good at network marketing. I try to do MLM companies, but I just have a very sensitive conscience that, if I sell you those earphones, Howard, I want you to make sure that the best earphones that I sold to you, or recommended rather, I don't like the feeling that, hey, I recommended those to you, and by the way, I make a buck at the same time. I'm just not good at that. I leave a lot of money on the table as a result, but I'd rather just live that way, to be able to give, and then I just think the rest takes care of itself. So I never farmed an area. When I was doing real estate, I think I ended up with 35, 40 deals a year, kind of with, one personal assistant, and maybe a buyer agent here and there, not even full time. And I was just doing 40 deals without doing any farming, because it was just repeat and referral business. And that's just the way I like to do things, So
okay,
hard work, yes, but hard work's in relationships. Like, figure out how to increase your relational wealth, and I think the rest takes care of itself.
It's great advice. How in your career, and let's pick again the real estate career, because that's the one where risk is, are you risk averse? Are you not risk averse? How important, or how did you handle the concept of risk when you went into an entrepreneurial adventure like real estate?
Yeah, I think that, and I say it all the time on my show, I think knowledge does two things. Knowledge mitigates risk. I had some landscaping work done, and there was chainsaws going off, and you put a chainsaw in my hand, it's very risky. But you put a chainsaw in the professional's hand, and it's just an everyday occurrence, right? Because he has the knowledge. So I think knowledge mitigates risk, and I think that we should never jump into something because you watch some HGTV show, or you think that, oh, they can do it, I can do it. Let's say flipping a house, for example, right? You have to have the knowledge. It mitigates risk, and then secondly, it breeds confidence. But it's all knowledge. You need to educate. And that's what I love about Right at Home Realty. You have a university going. People can, my son's just turned 20, and I said, hey, go grab your license just for fun if we're going to flip a house or something. And he's with you guys at
Right.
Right at Home Realty. And I'm seeing all the stuff that's offered. And knowledge mitigates risk and knowledge breeds confidence.
Boy, that's. I hope people listen to that and think about it, because risk in any entrepreneurial field is what scares people, keeps them from doing well, keeps them from even getting in. But knowledge it'll reduce risk. But you don't become an entrepreneur if you're totally risk adverse. I mean, I've always felt the excitement of starting something new. I mean, this podcast that I've started with RioCast, my career, involved with Right at Home Realty ended, where I was actively involved, although I'm still a member of the board. But this became a new venture, and it becomes exciting because it's like a startup, and you've done that, so you understand that.
Yeah, and I think it's important for people watching to know that also maybe God didn't make you that way. Like, not everybody has to be an entrepreneur. Like, I have an investment TV show. Like, I teach people how to grow money through different investments. And, I've seen others that say, hey, do you really want to be working 40 to 50 hours a week? Get into investments, have time freedom. Maybe somebody likes working 50, 60 hours a week and just wants the steady paycheck. And I think we should always invest, but not everybody has to be an entrepreneur. So I would say you have to be able to sleep at night as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's, how much investment do you want? How much debt do you want to use to invest? How much, Rav, should I refinance my principal residence to invest? I don't know. I'm not you. You have to be able to sleep at night. So that's what I would say over the years is you don't want to, you kind of want to be in the performance zone. You don't want to be in the risk zone. You don't want to be in the complacent. So I just made up those words, but let's call it complacency, performance, and risk. You got to kind of find yourself where you are. Don't be complacent. Don't be risky, but be in the performance zone where you're kind of, feeling a little bit pushed, but you can still have a good sleep at night, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. One of the things that's important in the traditional real estate world is loyalty. When I used to meet with new people in the business, and they'd always ask, like, what do I need to do to be successful, and what are my goals? And I clearly felt that this is your goal. Your goal in real estate is a referral business. And, you get that by being, professional, you work hard, and that creates loyalty. And loyalty, creates referrals. How about what's your take on loyalty?
Listen, I have left a lot of money and continue to leave a lot of money on the table because of loyalty. It's the most important thing. I mean, again, I have a sensitive conscience, and somebody else could come by and offer me something even better, and I could make a bigger buck, and so on and so forth. But relationships matter, loyalty matters. Again, it's, these things affect, in a world of anxiety and stress and depression and OCD, and, I flirt with all those things. You've got to be able to sleep at night, have great conscience, not sear it, live in integrity. Loyalty is a huge component. Howard, I get your advice all the time. There's things that happen, and it's just not worth it. It's just not worth doing something for the sake of $1, and take away from, if me and you have an agreement and it's a handshake agreement, and something else comes around that might be better for me monetarily speaking, I'm not going to say, well, Howard, it wasn't on paper. No, my yes is my yes. We had an agreement. And like I say, I really believe there's something bigger than this. I don't believe, as my dad passed away a year and 2 weeks ago, January 1st, 2020, sudden death, and rocked my world, but I don't think he ceases to exist. I do think there's something more. There's something bigger. And I do think I'll be reunited one day. And that's what hope is, right? We're going to be with our loved ones one day. We're going to see how Arthur one day, we hope, your former partner. And so there's something bigger. And I just think that if we keep to integrity, we keep to humility, selflessness, give value, and your word, loyalty, I just think we'll be blessed. And I have been blessed. I've been burned and hurt a few times. I'm not going to lie. I mix business with pleasure. I don't know how to do it any other way. And I've been hurt a few times. I shouldn't say burned because money comes and goes. I've been hurt a few times, but that's just on them. I wouldn't trade it for a thing.
Now, listen, Rav, I've always loved your attitude. I mean, when I used to come up to the show, and even now, I think, the viewers can see, you were always positive. I mean, it didn't matter what went on in your day. You'd welcome me. It was fun to do the show. I mean, it was one of the most fun things I've ever done. And, for that, like I said, it probably in the back of my mind triggered, it's not a bad gig for me. So here's a question. What's the biggest challenge you've had to overcome, or challenges, if there were more than one?
Yeah, I think like any entrepreneur, and it's not just for entrepreneurs, but I just think, Howard, we are want to be in control of our own destiny, and that sounds nice, but the bad word is we're control freaks. We want control, and I don't mean in terms of micromanaging. I'm a great delegator, but just in terms of outcomes. And so, family is so important to me. I have a beautiful 20-year-old son. Like I said, he's at York doing his thing, and he's a realtor, and he's trading stock options. And I have a gorgeous, beautiful inside out, when I say gorgeous, 17-year-old daughter. And the biggest thing that I need to learn and continue to learn, is not to exasperate my kids, not to control, if I do believe in something bigger, then do I believe in it or not? Like, I've got to have a trust factor. So there's a difference between controlling and protecting. And I think that's always been my biggest challenge, whether it's with my children, whether it's with family members, whether it's friends. It all comes out of love. If I don't, if it's distant, if it's an acquaintance, then it doesn't really matter much. But for the people that I love, my biggest challenge with my OCDs is moving from control to just giving advice and wanting to have a protective heart, but knowing everything's going to work out. I really have a hard time with it still. I had a neural breakdown about 5 years ago. I had a nervous breakdown. I'm making more money than I've ever made, and semi-retired, and I had a neural breakdown because my kids were growing up too quick, too better than my liking. I couldn't, give them a spanking or a timeout or whatever you do. I had to now reason with and allow them to fall down, and it's just very hard for me personally. I've grown like a weed. I have to, for mental health issues. Otherwise, I would just drive myself crazy. And you have a beautiful children as well. And, I don't know how you did it with Maddie. Maybe you just trusted. Maybe you have a great relationship. Maybe she was just a great kid. But, our kids are going to fall down, and they have to be able to get up by themselves. And I have to not always help them as much as I want to help them for my sake. It's not anything to do with them. They're amazing. This is my schemas, if you will. These are my things that I need to work on. So that's probably the biggest challenge for me, is just kind of being wanting to be a control freak, especially when it comes to loved ones in my life.
Well, it's interesting. My late mother had this way of looking at being a parent, and she said, "You're a parent forever. If you're 80 and your kid's 60, you're still dealing with it the same way, but you don't know that when you got a baby. They grow faster than you. You have to catch up to where they're at, right? They're always ahead of you." Yeah. By the way, when you mentioned Maddie, that reminded me of this. Maddie this was like she was the envy of her entire high school. Maddie had a birthday. You and I were in touch. I said, and she really liked your buddy, Scott McGilvery. So I said, "Rav, can you do me a favor? Can you get Scott to just text Maddie happy birthday? She'd be wild." Anyway, you send me a video. Scott says, "Hey, Maddie, happy birthday, it's Scott." And that was, she's still one of her favorite things ever. So thanks for that.
Yeah, I think I was having dinner or lunch with Scott. I mean, he did it. I just said, "Hey, Scott, dude, Howard's a good buddy of mine, his daughter. Can you do this?" And it was like he looked at his phone for 2 seconds or 3 seconds, and he said, "Okay." I said, "What do you mean, okay? It's done?" He goes, "Yeah, done."
Yeah, it was really sweet. Really sweet.
He's a good guy.
So the last question I have, and this is one that, I like to keep for the last, because first time I heard it, it was like, oh. So here's the question. Rav, what would you tell your 20-year-old self?
What would I tell my 20-year-old self? Can I tell myself more than one thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, in the investment game, Somebody told me when I first became a realtor, somebody said, buy a property a year. And, here I am doing 30, 40 deals, a year and making a great income. I was like, why would I want to be a landlord? Why would I want to? But what I would tell my 20-year-old self, and I tell my 20-year-old son and my 17-year-old daughter, is live simply, give generously, always, always, always invest. Always invest. Every dollar you make, try to take 20 cents out of that dollar and invest it. And if you do that at, the age of 20 years old, when you're 40, 45, you do whatever you want to do, not to say that I believe in retirement. I think we're created to work. But that's what I would tell. The first thing I would say is always invest. And because I'm always investing, I would tell my 20-year-old self, spend a lot of quantity, not quality. I believe that quality is birthed out of quantity. Spend a lot of quantity time with loved ones. Spend a lot of time. When you're 20, you just want to move away and travel and do this and do that. And no, it's just those wonderful moments that, that you might not have an opportunity to do with grandparents and great, your grandparents' siblings and cousins and relatives and family, and just spend a lot of quantity time with people. So those are the two things. And I think they match each other. You can only spend time with people if you're investing, because everything will be okay later. I think what happens sometimes is we get out of school and we want to make sure we have our nest egg all set for later in life. And I don't want to work. I look at my parents and I don't want to work till I'm 100 years old. And so we kind of react to that. But if you would just invest from every dollar you would get, then you could do anything you wanted. You could work anywhere you wanted if you would live simply, give generously, always invest, and spend quantity time with loved ones. That's what I would say to myself.
Well,
I left my mom, she was in Kingston, and it's not wrong to do this, but I moved to Toronto, and I'm so blessed because she eventually came. But, don't be so quick to escape. The nucleus is very important, right? Howard, this back in the days of Abraham. They would find a big plot of land and the whole family would live on there and follow the patriarch, and good times, But now we have, a family of 4 or 5 and everybody's on every corner of the world. And again, to me, I believe in relationships and especially with the ones that are the closest to you. Try to stay close if you can. If there's a course, if I live in Toronto and you could take a course at York University and they're offering one at UBC and it's the same course, why go to UBC? Stay home, do that later, So anyways, that's just kind of my thoughts on that.
Well,
again, maybe that fits into the whole controlling nature, Howard. I don't know.
Listen, nobody knows what it's going to be like to be a parent. Adam recently, the producer, recently became a parent. I remember I had no idea. My wife, Rosemary, fortunately had a good idea. So she kind of coached me along. But I always felt what I said earlier. They get there before you, and you have to catch up.
That's right.
Anyway, Rav, I want to thank you. I know you're a busy guy. I really want to thank you for the time. As you said, and as I said, we became friends many years ago. It's a great giving relationship on both sides. So I want to wish you and your family good health, continued success. You got a great program. I'm sure you're going to get lots of viewers to continue to watch. The program again is called Everyday
Investor with Rav Toor.
Okay. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, and to you as well, Howard. I'm glad you're doing this. Like I say, it's about time. You're amazing at it, and have been blessed with an incredible IQ, and at the same time, be able to draw people out. And it's good for people to learn from others. Sometimes it's hard to draw out what they're thinking and feeling, and I think you do a really great job. So thank you.
Thanks, Rav. Take care. We'll see you next time. You'll be back, I promise.
Thanks, Howard.
All the best. Thank you for joining us. And if you enjoyed the podcast, please like, comment, and subscribe. You can reach us on the net at rewithhd.com. That's rewithhd.com. Or you can also email us at info@rewithhd.com. We'd love to hear from you. That's our show for today. Take care, be kind, We'll see you next time.